When you start a business, you start it because there's things that you love to do. You have a passion for something, you get excited, but what many people find out really quickly is loving what you do and making money doing what you love is not the same thing. So I brought on a really, really special and near and dear to my heart guest today to share with us some insider secrets to how to really make big money, position yourself as an authority, and do more of what you love. Hi, I'm Melanie Benson. I'm known as America's leading small business optimizer, and this weekly podcast is geared to helping you learn from other people what it is that to really have a business that's optimized. And we cover everything from mindset, personal productivity, habits, strategy, marketing, business design. We're going to cover everything. But today, we're going to talk about something that I have to tell you was really pivotal in my own business and my own life. And that's why I brought my really dear friend, Adam Urbanski, to come join us today. Now, let me share with you a little bit about Adam. Adam has been showing entrepreneurs all over the world how to turn their passion and their know-how into a business that makes huge impact and fast profits. And today he's here to show you how to use effective marketing strategies to turn doing what you love into your personal automated wealth generating machine. Doesn't that sound exciting and sexy? So, hey Adam, how are you?
I'm signing up. Hey, teach me.
Yeah, I know. I want some. Exactly. So just a little bit on a personal note, Adam and I go way, way back. I think you were like my second or third friend in the internet marketing world. You probably thought I was going to say ever.
Oh, it's a good thing you added.
He was my only friend ever. But really, we met each other a really long time ago when I was first starting this journey, and Adam was still relatively new on this journey. And, we've been in mastermind groups, we've, done events together, and he's invited me to speak many times at his events. And, we've done some really great partnerships over the years, and Adam's just become a really dear friend. And Adam was my very first marketing mentor. So I find that Adam's advice, it literally catapulted me out of struggling and just barely making things, ends meet at a time when I was really, really, really like wondering if I could ever be successful as an entrepreneur, and became, someone who was easily able to command 6 and 7 figures. So Adam, I'm eternally grateful, but also excited to have you here today.
Well, thank you for having me. And, I always say that it takes a great student to have a great mentor, because I can only open the door, but people have to walk through it, and you walk through it, continue to be walking through it, and just you're blasting through all sorts of rooms that follow and opening the next door and going through it. So, hey, kudos to you.
It's a great metaphor. I like that. So I like to start with just getting a little bit of background on why did you decide to go this direction? Because you've actually had a couple of ventures as an entrepreneur over the years, and I think we'd all like to hear what was Adam's reason for becoming a marketing mentor to thousands of coaches and consultants and service professionals all over the world.
Wow, you want a Reader's Digest story?
Yeah, we only have 40 minutes, so we got to go with the shorter version today.
Clarify, because,
we could do that for the whole 40 minutes.
Story,
Exactly.
I've given it about 60 seconds of thought before we started this interview, right? So I think there are 2 reasons. One is obviously selfish, and I knew I was unemployable very early on. I'm just very creative. I don't do well with authority, so when somebody tells me to go left, I'll make sure I go right. If something has been done 1,500 times one way, I want to make sure that the 1,600 time is done differently. So it's just kind of not necessarily an employee material. So the first reason for me to start, any of my ventures is to just call my own shots. I think the second one is through some of my early mentors, especially here in the United States. I realized that they had a lot of flexibility and freedom because they owned their own businesses. So that's the second thing that I wanted to. I realized that, I also saw them working harder. And funny story, kind of when I saw my dad, when I came to the United States, my dad had his own business. And I swore I would never do my own business because I saw how hard he worked. I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm going to do that. And then I watched my mentors here in the United States, and sure, they worked hard, but they also had just an insane amount of fun, and it was very rewarding. I'm like, you know what, I want that, and I'm willing to work a little harder than somebody else, but I want that fun on the back end. So those are kind of one other thing is that I fairly on kind of intuitively discovered there are certain things I'm good at. So I love to teach. I love to learn first and foremost, but on my own terms. Like I didn't do well in school, but learning new things that excite me, like what I'm passionate about on my topics, and I can just spend days and time just stand still. And then the second part is once I learn and figure things out, I like to tweak them a little bit. I like to use them, and then I like to share with other people. So I like to learn and I like to teach. And I find I don't see a business that allows me to do that well, so why don't I just do it on my own? And the altruistic part of it is that I love helping people. And truly, my personal mission is to eradicate business failure worldwide. As a company, our purpose is to awakening people to the possibilities. And I do it through marketing training, but the ultimate purpose is, when we come in contact with people, how can we make them better off by awakening them to the things that are possible for them? They're using their own skill, using good marketing strategies, understanding better what being entrepreneur, business owner really means. So that's just kind of my long story, truncated in 2 minutes.
And why don't you share with everybody just a little bit about what you do as a marketing mentor and kind of like what is it that Adam is all about?
Oh man, it's this one question that actually propels me to do what I do. I hate
it. Of course I would ask it.
and Melanie, you know that the networking situations especially, I have so much fun with this because you never get a straight answer.
Yes, I know. I've heard several really good ones over the years, which I will not repeat because they probably should not be recorded on video.
Just for the shock element, they should not be, yes.
Exactly.
What I do is, I own a company that provides marketing training primarily for solo professionals, mostly coaches and consultants. So that entails a number of things. First and foremost, people who are really passionate about something, they tend to be really good at it, and they want to turn it into a business. Kind of like what you started with your coaching, kind of like what I started with my business. The problem is that most people focus on their area of expertise, and they get better and better and better at it. That's fantastic, except they become better and better technician, not a business owner. So what we do is we actually teach them how to be a business owner, the art of running a business. So generating leads, turning leads into clients, converting a one-time buyer into a lifetime customer and an evangelist for what you do and for what you brand. Once you get a customer to purchase something from you, how to install profit multipliers. So you can turn one purchase, again, into a multiple purchases, usually in higher dollar value and more profitable to you. So that's like on the front end. On the back end, once somebody has a business, we teach them how to get a little bit more freedom out of it. So creating products, creating programs, selling high-end consulting coaching programs. And so you can make bigger impact, maybe with fewer clients, but you get a lot more flexibility in your own life out of there.
Yeah. And so I know when you and I first met, I had a really pervasive problem, and you just kind of talked about it a little bit. Like I was so passionate, I was so driven to do what I did, which was at the time not even what I'm doing now, but that's a whole nother story.
It's not?
No, I don't. Yeah, that was a whole nother thing. But what it evolved into, having gotten some of expert advice from people like you, was helping people get out of overwhelm. But I wanted to do that all day long. But my problem was I didn't know how to get people into my business without feeling like an icky salesperson. So I'm wondering, and it might be that or it might be something else, but what would you say is the most pervasive problem that the people who come to your programs are suffering and struggling with?
Well, I think it's really what I touched upon, which is there's so much attachment to doing what they do, the technical part. They want to get better and better. They will invest an insane amount of money to become a better coach, better consultant, better speaker, but they will absolutely refuse to invest even minimum amount of money. But money is just the side, time, effort, focus, energy into actually learning how to be an entrepreneur, how to run a business, acquire a customer, retain a customer, actually business models, which is something that most solo professionals don't even think about the term business model. They just go, what's business model? Well, your business model as a service professional is very limited. You can only make a specific dollar amount because it's capped by trading time for dollars. So the pervasive problem is people have massive resistance to marketing and massive allergies to selling. And unless they overcome both, they can't. So 2 quick lessons that I share in most of my programs. If you just replace the marketing selling with a couple different words, it makes a big difference. I know it made a difference for you. It made a difference for me when I made a link in my head. So if you put a word, I'm trying to do it so people see it the right way on the screen.
Reverse everything.
We go from the negative to the positive.
Exactly.
Okay? We go from your left to your right. Hopefully I'm doing it the right way. So if you take the word education and put a word marketing and put an equal sign, that makes a big difference. So stop marketing and start educating people. That makes a world of difference. And again, I will not shut up on my topic of expertise. You asked me marketing questions, and I just love talking about it. You know, it's my passion. I'm good at it. I know a lot about it. But I've learned to talk about it in such a way that it tells people how to solve the problems. And the same thing went for you. You know, when you start talking about how to optimize your business, how to connect different things so you work at your, you know, you are in your zone all the time as an entrepreneur. You start sharing this information. You're not marketing, you're teaching, but at the same time, you are marketing your expertise. You're showcasing it. It's like, you know, I'm from Missouri. Don't tell me, show me. So when you educate, you're showing people your level of expertise. And then sales, marketing basically creates hunger in people. And then when they start selling, again, they go into this weird space in their heads that somehow they're manipulating people and they're extracting money that isn't rightfully theirs. So again, if you let go of the attachment to the end result of a sales conversation and instead realize that selling equals consulting, all of a sudden it's like, wow, it's super fun. You just consult people, help them find a good solution and make a good decision for them. And some say yes, some say no. For some, your solution is what they're looking for. For others, it's not. And it's perfectly fine. But just those two tweaks make a big difference to most entrepreneurs that they're not aware of those concepts.
Yeah, it's like reframing something that makes people feel really uncomfortable. Like instead of giving it that meaning that you're hurting someone or taking something, you recreate a meaning and say, look, you're actually helping people make a decision on how to get what they want most in the world. And if you're not ultimately the best person for it, then they won't pick you or you won't let them pick you. And that was so valuable for me, is to really get, like, it's my job to do the best I can do to educate someone on what it is that I do in the world so that they can decide, am I the right person? And I can help guide them through that process. And you have some amazing tools and resources that, you've taught me over the years to do that. And, it's super valuable.
If I can add to that, Melanie, and this is kind of your department, but the person needs to be ready to receive those tools, because some people just they want to learn marketing and sales, but they approach it from perspective like, I have to, and because of that, they never really fully dive into this. Others realize, like, wow, this actually can be quite fun, and it's really an amazing skill that doesn't just help me acquire customers, it really transforms my life. Because when you think about it, marketing and selling is everywhere. If you're in a relationship currently, you have marketed and sold at least once, all right? So it's when you dive into those tools and actually learn to do it well, you realize that selling in particular is such an amazing skill. It's a skill of inspiring people, of influencing people. You're gonna use it everywhere, not just in a typical sales conversation like, hey, here's my mouse, I'll sell it to you. But in a situation where you want someone to get things done for you, in a situation where in a relationship you want your significant other to do things, you want your kids to do things, it's all about the art of persuading and selling. And, and for people that are like us, kind of soul-based entrepreneurs, it's really learning that selling is a magnificent service. You actually make a difference through the right sales conversations. I have people time and time again, when they give me their credit card, and they actually will say thank you to me. It should be the other way around, which I always thank them for the business, but pretty much 100% of the time they give me their credit card and they say thank you, and I always say what for, and I say because you've helped me, and they list, make a decision, break through a problem, find the right solution. That's what sales conversation is all about. Most people don't know how to do it the right way, so they get stuck. Anyway.
Yeah. No, it's exactly right. And I would say that was probably one of my biggest challenges. How do you have the right conversation? How do you know how to guide people through that process? And so, I want to get into something really practical and tangible that someone could take away from today's interview and in the podcast today, and really maybe put it into action. And so I'm curious, is there something that you find when you're working with your customers and clients that over and over and over again, this is like the one thing that seems to work
Mm,
for really getting those fast profits and the huge impact that they're looking for?
yeah. Wow. I was thinking if there's one thing, and I think there is. I had just had an aha. So you know what? The one thing is you've got to buy my Attract Clients Like Crazy course, and it should be on your desk, Melanie. I don't see my binder over there, so
It's
double
over
check.
there, actually. It is actually right. It's over there on the floor.
Oh, fantastic. I'm like, where's my
But it was
binder?
my Bible. I lived and breathed that for years. I still do.
But you know what? Seriously, I think the biggest difference for pretty much 100% of my clients is to help them shift this piece from marketing to education. So I now coined this term of stop pitching, start teaching. So the more you teach, the more people will come to you, and the more you pitch, the more people will run away from you. So, and again, what I've discovered since I started teaching this, there's also other components in place. So, for example, I use a couple of assessments with a lot of clients. One is Colby, and one is Wealth Dynamics. And in particular, Wealth Dynamics, and by the way, the free version of Wealth Dynamics, if people go to mygeniustest.com, it's connected to Facebook, it's completely free. It kind of gives you one of the four main categories in which you operate. So for example, I love to teach and I'm a creator. So for me, when you ask me questions to come up with ideas on the fly, if you do the same interview tomorrow, I'm going to give you totally different answers, all right? Because I'll create. I mean, the essence will be the same, but everything else will be different. For someone that has a different personality, someone who's more of kind of a mechanic, they like to be behind the scenes, tweak things, they can also have an amazing solopreneur, information marketing-based business, but there will be more about collecting and organizing and delivering than creating. So if they want to create a course of their own, they will struggle. They will often get stuck for months, sometimes years. It's just not in the blood. They're not creators. Same thing for people who are not, kind of the same thing, right? So people who are on the opposite side, they're very people-oriented, and you tell them that now they have to go and do some piece of technology to build a business, they get stuck
Yeah,
forever.
yeah,
So my
exactly.
whole point is, it's still teaching, but it's also matching your genius to what do you actually do in your business, and let go of a lot of other things because they'll just hold you back for a long time.
Yeah, that's where the delegate, defer, or delete comes in.
Yep, I'm still working on those three
I
D's.
know. That's where I get to teach you, right?
I'm good at deleting.
Yeah, you are.
And what was the second one?
Defer and delete and delegate. Delegate's that's your
Did you
most
say
uncomfortable
defer
D
or
word.
delay?
Well, it's defer or delay,
Yeah. I think as
which
a
is really
marketer,
hard
you
for
have to delay.
entrepreneurs. Exactly. Good. So the attraction-based marketing is all about educating people, and one of the
Actually,
things.
people call it attraction-based marketing. I actually prefer education-based marketing. I
Mhm.
don't like the word education-based marketing attracts people, but it's not an attract. It's like I just a little bit of nuance here in my
Got it.
head. It's just so much of this attraction marketing stuff is total bullshit in my opinion. The way it's presented most of the time. So it's really about education-based marketing. You teach to attract.
Yeah, good distinction. And I gotta tell you, it worked so well for me. Like I literally went from having no clients or struggling to get one or two to having a flood of clients and then ultimately being able to raise my rates over and over and over again over a 3 year period. And there's something that I think happens, and you're somebody who's kind of coined this idea of helping people position themselves as an authority. When
Mm-hmm.
you're educating and you're teaching, the strategy is all about positioning yourself as the authority in the marketplace. And the tighter and the more concise you get that education piece messaging, and the more do a good job of getting it out there, I
Mm-hmm.
think you become seen as a credible expert in the industry. That's what you
Yeah.
did for me. That's what you allowed me to do, is taught me how to do, is like really position myself as the get out of overwhelm person in the industry before everybody else started teaching it too.
Yep. Yep. So it's funny, I made some notes. I'm glancing at my notes, but it's one of the things that I wrote we'll probably circle back to, which is becoming an authority.
Hmm.
And, it kind of became, Because I think about it, a lot of those strategies kind of became accidental. I stumbled upon them totally accidentally, wanting to master something else, but accidentally kind of figuring out, oh, this actually works. And this authority thing is kind of one of those pieces because I watched people in my industry, um, not the ones who were showing up for the monthly association meetings and holding the positions of, of power in the associations and going like, well, I'm this and I'm that. Because I looked at them and I realized they don't make all that much money. And they
Right.
were that much ahead of me. But then I looked at the industry icons, of people that everybody looked up to, but they weren't in the monthly meetings. They were like the untouchables. And I thought, what do they do differently? And I just started going like, duh. One of the first things is you don't show up for monthly meetings. There's a reason for it. They have
Yeah.
there's some other activities they're busy with. So what do I need to do to be just like that?
Yeah, it's about picking the places that you're going to use your energy, use your time, and be seen and experienced really wisely, and knowing that every place you're showing up, every place you are, how people are experiencing you is either setting you up to be that authority and that credible expert, or
Yep,
taking away from it.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, and you and I really got our start in and it wasn't really an association, but a networking type group down in LA. And as the leader, I had a different position around it, but I could see that, like a lot of the
Yep.
big wigs, a lot of the people that really were experts, they wanted to speak, but they wouldn't necessarily come and show up. And that was a big teaching moment for me too. It's like, huh, okay.
Yeah, and you see, when you run a group like this, it's so just to clarify, I'm not against networking and being members of groups. It's just you've got to do it the smart way.
Yes.
So, in fact, just this morning, I send an email to my marketing tip. It was actually about networking, and so I'll show you three things. I actually wrote them for later. It's reverse engineering when you show up for networking meetings. When I looked at, again, same situation, I looked at speakers and I looked at attendees, and I went, how is it that speakers always have an unfair advantage? At the end of the event, people always cluster around them. They can easily make an offer and people just go like, oh, I want that. And everybody else is just like, well, everybody else, they're pitching to each other and they're not getting they're not getting ahead. So I realized there are really three distinctions. Number one, the speaker was invited. Number two, the speaker was introduced, so the credibility was immediately built in.
Hmm.
And number three, the speaker actually delivered value first before they pitched. Right? And I went, why don't I do the same thing? So I came up with a strategy to go to local networking groups. I found a way to be invited. When I arrived, I was actually introduced rather than just being another person. And then because I love to teach and I love to listen, so the first thing was always like when people were telling me things, I would give them, I would be of value, be of service. That makes all the difference. And there's some other hacks, again, to create that authority-like positioning, even if you're just another attendee in the group. And now, let's rewind a little bit to a conversation we had moments ago, which was the biggest mistake or resistance that people have. You see, if I were just like an average person, I would be more concerned about my coaching, my consulting, and getting better at that. I wouldn't be paying attention to the overall system that allows me to actually get my coaching and consulting business ahead. That's the difference. So I would look at something like networking and go like, well, it is a process. How do I reverse engineer this process to work to my advantage and simply be observant and aware and make it work for me rather than just be, okay, I'm going to go in there, network, get clients, get business cards, come home and see what I can do with it. That's just what most people do and it doesn't get them anywhere.
Smart. It's really smart. I love that you always see how to take like things that are out there and reposition them and re-engineer them so that they position you more effectively.
Hmm.
I know, having known you as long as I do, I know that you've had your ups and downs just like me and everybody else, and I'm wondering,
No, 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 no,
no, you're
no, my shit
perfect.
doesn't stink, no.
Sorry, I forgot. We're going with the perfect model today.
By the way,
Rewind.
you speak perfect English too. It's you that listen with an accent.
Exactly. I'm listening with an accent. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, if you were to have had a time that was maybe a little less perfect than it is now, what would you say has been one of your biggest learning opportunities along the way? See, I didn't say challenge, I said learning opportunity.
Learning opportunities. I love the way you phrased it. It kind of throws me off.
We can go back to challenge if you would prefer.
No, I like that. I mean, uh, it's really a tough question because I could go so many different directions with it, but I think the biggest one, and you notice this was actually slightly before we met. So I had quite a bit of success quite quickly. So in the 90s, in 10 years, I built a business that was generating millions of dollars in revenue, bought out my partners, owned a business, sold the business, made good money, and just got really cocky. But I wasn't educated enough about business and money to sustain it. So I was spending a lot more than I was bringing in. Even though I had success in the restaurant industry, I had no idea how to translate that into another industry. And, found myself one day with 20 bucks in my pocket once again and just borrowed car, young family to feed. And I was like, holy shit, what do I do now? So again, there's the strategies that got me out of that fairly quickly, which one strategy was to start selling high-end programs that allows you to bring lots of revenue very, very quickly. But I think aside from that, the biggest learning opportunity was that my business and my world is the reflection of me. Mm-hmm. So the more depressed and the more withdrawn and the more quiet and overwhelmed by the massive failure I became, the less everything worked. And I had to start creating my own bubble around me. And again, I only know it from the perspective of time, realizing that's what I did. But I was creating my own bubble, surrounding myself with people who still believed me and said, you know what, don't worry about this. You did it once, you're gonna do it again, even bigger, better, faster. You've got, no one did it before, you did it. And you're still that person. If not, you've got more skills, more expertise. So the more they pumped me up, the more I shut the news off. I wasn't listening to negative, I didn't want to care about somebody that, a 7-car pileup on a freeway or bankruptcy or rape. All of that stuff is just wires you negatively. I only wanted to hear positive things. So the more you become a positive person, the more you become content, and the more you create a feeling of success, the faster you will actually create the representation of success on the outside. So case in point, if you can't afford decent shoes, at least have the shoes that you have. They're always clean and well taken care of. Same goes for clothes. Now, you may not have, $100 floral bouquets in your house right now. Maybe that's not in your budget. But you know what? You can certainly afford $3 a week to go to local whatever supermarket and have a few bouquets of fresh flowers in your house at all times. So those are little things that start making you function and think totally differently. They start making you being aware to totally different things. And from that comes the use of certain strategies that actually, look, the reason I mentioned this, Melanie, and you and I know that very well, mm-hmm. that we can give the same marketing strategy to two different people, and for whatever reason, they create totally different results with it. One ends up being a multimillionaire in a couple of years, 2, 3, 4 years, and 1, 2, 3, 4 years is nowhere farther ahead than they were when they started learning the strategy. So it isn't about the technology, it's about the psychology. What's in your head, how you're wiring yourself to use that technology.
Yeah, and I love that you brought that up because I know, you have seen how that worked in your own life. I've seen how it worked in my own life. I went through a really challenging time, as you know, in 2009, where I literally, I melted down. And I realized a big part of it is that I hadn't been spending as much time with the people who were totally positive, who were big thinkers, who were highly influential, and I should say fluential and affluent, and were, pulled into the muck of nobody has any money and everybody's their credit card, there was just this doom and gloom energy around me. And I realized, I think you and I had a conversation in there somewhere, and a couple of people, I'm like, hold on. It's like, I'm noticing a distinctly different experience over here than these people over here. And it really caused me to regroup and rethink who I allowed into my inner sanctum, mm-hmm. and to influence my thoughts and my beingness. And I think it's so undervalued. And we get into our comfort zone. So I'm really glad you brought that up. And I think there's a lot to be learned about what are we choosing to bring into our life? how is it influencing us, including our mentors, our friends, our business associates, our clients, and even the people we talk to on the phone to potentially become our clients. Yeah.
Big time, big time.
Yeah.
All of the above. And I noticed that with clients, so, we run a few different coaching programs. And depending on the level, obviously not everybody gets to like personally interact with me. They interact within the group environment. And I notice how people cluster. And I can almost, like when I meet people, I can almost predict which cluster they're going to get themselves attracted to or attached to based on their thinking. And, a lot of people, rather than break through the current mentality and aim for higher level of thinking, they'll level off or even drill down or drop down to a level of thinking that allows them to use blame, use excuses, and negativity for as an as an explanation why they can't get ahead. And everybody in the group talks the same way, and therefore it becomes okay. So give you a case in point, I'm listening to a mastermind conversation. Somebody shows up for a mastermind call and says, well, today, what I want from you is to tell me it's okay to not do my, XYZ this week. And XYZ is like a profit-generating activity. And I'm listening to it going like, you did not just ask this question of your group, did you? Because if anything, it's like, tell me how I can actually get myself excited about it again. Because how would you show up in the mastermind call and ask your group to support you in eliminating money-making activities from your schedule? I just, but it's the type of thinking, and everybody goes like, oh yeah, you're busy, well, you didn't do enough so far, so yeah, you should probably, I'm going like, what? But
Yeah.
it's the type of thinking that attracts people with the same mentality. I'm probably rambling here.
Well, it's the herd mentality. The strongest voice in the herd is the one that pulls the rest of the herd. And it can be very easy to be the influencer in a group if your energy about something is the highest. So you want to be around people whose energy is about accomplishing really powerful things and about being in momentum rather than retraction, constriction, and disengagement. So, Adam, go ahead.
Ask the questions. Let me show you something because Steve Jobs had this thing, and actually people wrote about it. It's his famous reality bending strategy. So you basically bend the universe to his will. So case in point, if he would come to his engineers and say, I want this piece of software functioning by next Friday, and it's Monday, and they would say, there's no way it can be done. And I said, great, I'll see you on Friday. He totally didn't hear the impossibility. He just said, okay, it's got to be done. I want to see it done on Friday. He didn't accept no for an answer. That's just one very small example. So I wrote for one of my coaching programs and posted kind of like how they can imply or apply the same strategy in their own businesses. And one person asked, well, how did you, wire yourself kind of this way? And I went like, very simple answer, brainwashing. I've absolutely brainwashed myself. And when you think about it, we have very negative connotations to brainwashed, but we are all brainwashed. Our parents brainwashed us, our schools brainwashed us, our religion brainwashed us, towards what they wanted us to believe. So today, as a conscious person, I have a choice of how I want to be brainwashed next, right? So, a simple activity as I'll chop veggies for my salad, and at the same time, I'll have something going on in the background, listening to positive information. Whether it's a course on self-growth, or on prosperity, or on wealth mindset, on marketing strategies, on visioning, constantly listening to something. There isn't a moment when there's like silence. There's constantly things going on, rewiring myself for the next level.
Yeah, it's I call it recoding, as you know, and I totally agree with you. So, Adam, do you have a favorite mantra or quote that you like to quick get your notes that you like to use to kind of help you keep that rewiring towards what you want?
You know what, there are two actually. Probably have to even put more than I'd never have just one. It has to be
Yeah,
one.
of course.
The reason for it is because one is never true. When you think about it, when you say things from one perspective, there are so many exceptions to the rule always, but one is never absolutely true. So there's got to be like a few different angles. So for years, my favorite mantra was, if it's worth doing poorly to start with, right? Which is kind of like my version of fail fast, fail forward type thing. And today I talk about creating minimum viable products. It's kind of from lean startup technology. So let me tell you what it means. If you want to create a product, most people, and you know that as well, what they do, they end up creating the content, and they spend a few weeks, a few months, sometimes a few years getting the product ready. And then they go, okay, now the product is ready. Let me go and sell it and market it. And then they have an aha. It's like, well, how do I sell it? How do I market it? I
Yeah.
have no idea. You've created something that nobody wants. So instead, why don't create a one-page outline what your product actually is about, and then present it to a few potential buyers. Actually, have them give you money, and then you got to work your ass off to actually put your product together. Right? So again, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing fully to start with. You make some mistakes, you bruise your knees a little bit a few times, but you get ahead so much faster because you find out what works, what doesn't work. And again, we could go into psychology, why people do, don't do this, and so on, but that's my favorite. The reason that I said I have multiples, because as your business grows bigger, that strategy doesn't actually work that well. It works against you because you create a lot of messes.
Mm-hmm.
And messes are easy to create when you're small. They're tough to create when your company grows and you have multiple people involved. So if you're in a startup mode, definitely, if it's worth doing, probably to start with. And if you're in the more mature mode, the good is good enough no longer applies. Pardon the expression, but screw good enough. Go for excellence. If you want to do something, do it freaking 100 times better than everybody else in the market. And the final quote I'll share with you, and that's from Peter Diamandis, the guy who wrote the book Abundance, who started the X Prize to create commercial flights into space.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, the best way to predict future is to create it. And, I just love it. I think that most people, is it my phone? Somebody's phone is going off somewhere. Your phone is going off.
Sorry. Can we put that in the blooper reel?
Seriously, the best way to predict the future is to create it. And you know what? You're creating the future by how you are being and what you are doing right now. And most people just wait for, when I will be ready, when this, when that. Screw that. It's like, what are you doing right now? How are you thinking right now? How are you being right now? It's like you go to a store and you buy something from the cashier, and the cashier goes like, how are you doing? Good. Really? Well, I can already predict how the rest of your day will go. Good. 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 Right? Why not just be freaking extraordinary every single step of the way? Smile, have fun, and that's what's going to create exciting, extraordinary future for you.
Love it. Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I love it. And I think you actually just posted something on Facebook the other day about like the first thoughts or the way you think in the beginning of your day is going to dictate the rest of your day. And I was like, right on. I like that. That's good. So, Adam, what's next for you? What are you excited about?
As soon as I figure it out, I'll let you know.
Okay.
So I don't know if I can mention this here, but a long time ago, not that long ago, when you kind of went through your ups and downs, you talked about this thing called cracked open,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's like went totally over my head. I was like, well, yeah, all right.
You're like, whatever.
Yeah. But the other day I read something from Maya Angelou, and I forget the exact quote, but it said something that it takes courage to practice the rest of your genius or the rest of your skills. But to express your genius and your skills and your talents, it takes courage on an ongoing basis. So what your cracked open conversation started for me, what this quote continues to highlight and illuminate for me, is the fact that there's something great brewing, and I haven't quite yet discovered what that is. But more importantly, I haven't quite yet gathered the courage to really fully step into that. So it excites me. It scares the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And I know it's playing a bigger game. I know it's playing with a lot of movers and shakers. A lot of my business, we have like 3 or 4 types of customers. We've got a lot of people in the startup, I call them the launch mode. Then we've got the rapid growth mode. And we've got the leverage folks. and I really want to do a lot more with the leverage folks because they've got a lot more resources to do amazing things. They're in a great, perfect position to create more freedom for themselves and create a larger impact for other people. So there are some things that are brewing for me, probably for the last part of 2014 and then following on in 2015.
Well, I think that's the sign of a really powerful evolutionary being and entrepreneur, is that when you know and you can feel that something's coming and maybe you don't know what it is yet, but you at least have the courage to create space for it and know it's there. And I love that you even put it out there. And I have that too, as you know. There's like something emerging and I haven't quite figured it all out yet. And I don't know how to put it all out there yet, but I felt it for, over a year now. And, you have to have the courage to let it unfold without rushing it and trying to make it be something when it's not ready to be fully emerged yet.
Yeah, and you really tapped into something. You have to have the courage to let it unfold because the transition can be scary.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially when you have a business that already exists, you can just like
a big successful business. Exactly.
However, there are people that are doing this. Like one of my idols nowadays is Randy Gage, and love him or hate him. But the guy certainly has developed big enough prosperity and wealth mindset to just kind of go like, hey, you know what? I'm like totally ditching this and I'm going here. I'm like, I like that. I like that because you've got to do what really excites you. If you do things that excite you, you're going to put an enormous amount of effort into doing this. If you're doing things that are just kind of like, then there would always be a half-ass effort.
Yep. Yeah, and that is what I think taps people out, and it causes you to become unmagnetic to the thing that you're trying to do now. So again, it's just like having the patience to let things get sorted out.
And I love how you start speaking my English. When things are
Well, I like to use the words that you're using because it builds rapport, Adam.
Is a word from now.
It is now, actually it is on Facebook. It's meh, M-E-H.
Okay.
Yeah, so if it's Facebook official, then it exists in the world, right?
I played to a friend and he said, it's not a word. I'm like, it is. I just said it.
If I'm an authority, I can make up words anytime I want. So where is Adam's dictionary located, by the way?
It's a universal access.
Okay.
Go to themarketingmentors.com. It's THE marketingmentors.com. It's probably the best place. But you know what? Find me on Twitter and on Facebook. I post really cool shit on Facebook. So
Yeah.
It's always good.
Really good shit. It is actually really good shit. I love the stuff that Adam posts. Again, even though we're friends and we've been masterminding together for probably close to 10 years now, I learn so much from you every time that we talk, and you are constantly challenging me and inspiring me to think in a way that's even more aligned with what I want to get out in the world. So thank you for being such an amazing mentor and friend, and for sharing so much wisdom today. I've loved today's show, and I've loved what came out of it. And it is all organic, even though we kind of have some talking points. Like I always love hearing what's going to come out. So I'd love to hear, as you're listening in today to Adam and I, what was something that sparked for you? And if you're reading this on the blog, share it in the comments below. If you're on iTunes, give us a shout out on Facebook or Twitter, Mel Coach for both of them, and Adam Urbanski it's Adam Urbanski or the Marketing Mentors on Facebook and Twitter.
Adam Urbanski.
Yeah, that's what I thought, Adam Urbanski. And or you can pop over to the website, melaniebensonstrick.com, and head over to the blog and share with us, like, what was a little insight for you today that's really going to charge you up and inspire you. So we'll see you again next week for another exciting interview with an expert and authority in the field of optimization. And Adam, thanks so much for being with me today.
Thanks for having me again. Take care.